happy Monday. I hope everyone's well and your week is off to a fantastic start. Does anyone else constantly have this sense of impending doom? It can't just be me. Everywhere I look on social media and mainstream media platforms, I seem to find myself generally disappointed with our species. To begin our expedition of discerning through the forest of chaos our society has today found itself in, I want to start with a particular matter of contention that seems to have become a popular norm, or at least for what I've seen in my generation. Today in this video, we will be debunking the lunacy of the popular idea that promiscuity promotes female empowerment and that it is ultimately good for women, and thus good for the broader society around. Because why wouldn't you agree that seeing your mum on OnlyFans just shows how empowered she is? Woo! Go women! What an example! Okay, so let's delve straight into it. I want to start with what I mean by promiscuity. Promiscuity is defined as having or characterized by many transient sexual relationships, where the word transient is defined as only lasting for a short time or impermanent. I'll get into the danger of transient sex later, but for now, let's first delve into the promiscuous woman. Now, I'm not ignorant to the fact that promiscuous behavior in women has been around for millennia, and sex sells. Sex will always sell. When you look back to, say, the 50s and 60s, this sexualization, objectification of women was of course still present, but perhaps not to the level that some of you expose yourselves for $3.99 a month for, but you get the point. Promiscuity is nothing new. The change I have seen that I believe is detrimental to our depressed and anxious generation is that promiscuity has now become an identity, and more worrying, it's become a goal and this kind of false ideal that people feel they need to aspire to. And girls, I do get it. I completely understand why you want to match yourselves to what you see on Instagram. These girls are, on the screen at least, gorgeous. And what girl doesn't want to feel gorgeous? Among that, you're a fool if in the age of Instagram you cannot see that females do require a level of male validation. The number one comment I hear from girls about these Instagram baddies, who typically do have fans, let's be real, is, oh, well, it's because all the men follow her. Like, yeah, of course. We've just established that we know sex sells. The problem is, why do you think that's all you have to offer? Or perhaps is it that you're too lazy to figure out what else you might have to offer and develop it, so you just use the fact that because you have a and, well, everyone else does it and men love it, you're gonna use that. We all have. Girl, be more creative. It's like you have this idea that men like this girl, so I'll be like her and then the men will like me. Or worse, my boyfriend and his friends will talk about this girl on Instagram or talk about this star, so if I act like her, then I'll be the star prize girlfriend and all of his friends will talk about me. The delusion is real, guys. On a personal level, this shit hurts me. Like, I don't want girls to be lied to. And let's be real, it's pretty easy to string a girl down a path. We're naturally more submissive, we're more emotional than men, we're much more agreeable than men, and this is the majority of girls. I don't know why loads of girls think that they're an exception to the rule nowadays, but I don't want the girls I love and care about around me to be deceived, you know? If you go back to the 50s, Marilyn Monroe was renowned to be the sexiest woman alive. And I'm sure lots of women back then wanted to emulate her image. There's still women now who want to emulate her image. Of course, she's gorgeous. But again, this is just her image. A desire to emulate an image that is purely based upon your current physical state is exactly what it says on the tin. You're creating an image. You're abandoning your whole being, your whole personality, your whole potential as an ever-changing, ever-developing human being with a long life ahead of you. You're reducing that down so you can produce the sexiest image you possibly can whilst your body can do so now. You're reducing your whole life, your whole existence as to what you exist as. Marilyn Monroe wasn't even a person. Marilyn Monroe is an image, a character. And look how problematic that was for the woman behind the image. Norma Jean Mortensen lived in a state of total loss and confusion within her being. And if you haven't already watched the film Blonde on Netflix, I highly suggest you do so, if of course your tiny attention spans can hack it. Who can we think of who is notoriously a promiscuous woman, a sexual product? Katie Price comes to mind for me. Again, she's not a real person, but she's an image that's distorted into a so-called personality, created by a lady called Katrina Amy Alexandria Alexis In. If you Google her, it literally says her claim to fame is being billed as Jordan on page 3 in the British newspaper The Sun. And again, famed for her surgically enhanced breasts. Do we think that Katrina is genuinely well and happy? Another thing that blows my mind with all of this is I remember when women were advocating for the removal of page 3 from the Sun newspaper, screaming about how awful page 3 was back in the day and how it's degrading to women and children can see it. Yet these same women be preaching how awesome it is for a woman to now make money on OnlyFans. OnlyFans, a platform that exists on the internet, loads of your children have access to. Woo! Female empowerment, score for the win. The problem I have is that clinging to a certain image that only exists for a short space of time in comparison to the majority of your life. It's a certain portrayal of who we are through ultimately a fake image, whether it be filters, editing, surgical enhancements. It's not even just the honesty aspect that bothers me, it's the complete identification with the image that they're portraying and their downright ignorance to their humanity and their mortality. I just want you guys to genuinely internalize and accept the truth of our reality as women. And give yourselves a real life. None of this live fast, die young, self-destructive crap, you're only here once, none of that. They're convincing you that this ideal they're showing you is real, but it's not real. Our bodies change every single day, and whether you like it or not, you will get old, you will get wrinkles, and your boobs will sag. This is a fact of reality. Remember reality? That thing that existed before social media came around? And this does not mean that now we should shift idealization to create yet another deluded ideal where we're distorting the reality of beauty standards by putting hippos on a Sports Illustrated magazine. So if your whole identity is based in this current physical portrayal of yourself, if you're constantly checking how your Instagram page looks, and you're spending more time checking Instagram than you do any other daily habit, and I'm sure your screen times will reflect this, so I know that it happens, I know you guys do it, and I know to a lot of people how they're perceived on Instagram is one of their greatest achievements. It's a known principle that the combination of our daily habits creates the person we are. Who we are is what we do. And if the majority of your day is spent with the habit of checking your Instagram, then that's all you are. You are pixels on a screen. And what happens if the lights go out? What's left of you? What happens when that can no longer be emulated? What's left? Is there a person left? What are you left with when you've identified as this transient Vogue visor? This notion that we can construct a new identity of ourselves based purely off of delusional and egotistical drives breeds mental illness. And should midlife crisis come around, which it may, you're setting yourself up for a fall from an unbelievably high pedestal. A fall which may paralyze you and could kill this false ideal that you've created. And then what's left? Wouldn't the best idea be introspection and reflection in order to accept and incorporate what we are into who we are? Or is that asking too much accountability? Are you just lazy? Because I can assure you that whatever you're running from, it's ultimately yourself, and it will always catch up with you. There's no running from ourselves. Accepting the things that we've done in our life instead of fleeing allows us to evolve, grow, and bloom into healthy ideals that are based in realistic and safe desires. I think the root of this issue, particularly for us in Gen Z, can be derived from our inability to envision the future. Our attention spans have become so disabled and docile that content creators are literally having to insert those little video games at the bottom of videos as an attempt to catch your attention to get you to focus. Does that not insult you? Are we not ashamed? And there's no point trying to insult the content creators for that and saying that they're putting it there. They're just adapting to a market that we, the consumers, create. And shock horror, most of those videos get loads and loads of views. So clearly that says something about the current mental state of our minds. On the topic of transience, which seems to be at the heart of our contemporary culture, as reflected by the most used app on the planet of all time, we browse transiently through social media. We now also date in a transient manner. Decades prior to now, dating was a means to find a life partner. Now dating can be purely for attention or sexual means. Don't get me wrong, I understand the necessity for dating apps in the digital age. If you don't drink, or you're not part of any club or society, or you don't want to meet a partner out clubbing, which is fair enough, then dating apps are a way to find someone for sure. However, I do see that there are these certain dating apps that are more used to gain a wealth of attention rather than anything else. The rise of apps like Tinder have pushed and promoted this hookup culture, which I absolutely do not agree with. My difficulty surrounds freedom. Now, freedom is extremely important to me, and you may ask, well, if you care about people's freedoms, then why do you disagree with an app that gives women the ability to sleep around freely? That empowers women. It's not the freedom of choice that I have a problem with, rather how free is the action of making said choice if it's made from a place where a bias has been imposed, whether you like it or not. Freedom is defined as having the ability to act or change without constraint, or to possess the power and resources to fulfill one's purposes unhindered. Everyone everywhere should have this right. In most countries here in the West, this is a fundamental human right and is part of the country's legal jurisdiction, which is fundamentally necessary. Do the companies and platforms that exist within these jurisdictions comply with the law as to allow for this right to be properly executed? From what I've seen in the last 3 years, to have freedom to act or to not act in a particular way regarding a particular subject, in this instance we're talking about transient sexual relationships, then you need to understand the pros and cons of said subject in order to make a decision that remains unhindered. Celebrities, public figures, the music we consume, influencers, and even our schooling system here in the UK tells us, hey, it's okay to have sex with lots of different guys. That's why we have contraception. As long as he wraps it up, there's no other risks. In the name of freedom, let's take this narrative into account. But this narrative is still one-sided. The other side provides scientific evidence that concludes otherwise, and does show that there are risks that exist, but they're just not widely discussed in the popular public consumer space. Would you agree that in order for you to remain unhindered, we shouldn't just be getting one-side justification for things? You'd want to know both sides, right? If you don't understand the concept of tyranny, that's absolutely fine. It's very easy to digest briefly. Here are 2 examples of notoriously tyrannical societies, both past and present. North Korea. So yeah, hopefully we can all agree that tyranny is bad and that blocking out information that you don't like just because it contradicts how you currently live your life and exercise your beliefs, well, that's bad. If you want someone to stop saying something just because it contradicts what you're currently doing in your life, if you don't like something and you think, oh, I should block that out, you're being tyrannical. So what they don't tell you, which you may have already heard of here and there, but given that we do live in a one-sided society at the moment, it's probably been dismissed as misogyny. You just haven't wanted to hear it. It's basically that having transient sexual relationships, so many different sexual partners, actually does carry with it a lot of risks, not only on your ability to do something which is called pair bonding, but it also depletes your potential life prospects. But let's see the evidence. Professor Nicholas H. Wolfinger found that women marrying in the year 2000 that have had more than 10 premarital sexual partners are more likely to get divorced. Whilst the professor does admit that ultimately this raises more questions than answers, as we can't change our body count, it does show at least that for us girls, there is a clear emotional connection linked to how many people we share ourselves with sexually. It is the same to men, it does apply to men too. However, for women, the bar is a lot lower. Men can sleep with way more women without damaging their ability to pair bond. I just wish that people would try to understand why it matters. I personally have come to the conclusion that women know it matters, purely just based off of the defensive behaviour that manifests when they're asked about it. It's kind of like they assume that they will be judged, so somewhere inside they must know and accept that it is something to judge. Otherwise, why would they feel like they're being judged? I don't know. Perhaps it's not conscious. Who knows? Not only does promiscuity feed the lie that transient sexual relationships are empowering and holds no risk to your potential future, but promiscuity as represented now has proven to affect your ability to attach deep on an emotional level. There are multiple studies and scientific data to support this, which again, I'm so sorry that you actually have to go out and find it and that it's not readily available, but that's why I'm here to share it. You have been lied to. I'm so sorry the world is like this and I wish it wasn't. If you care about both sides of an argument, here is the other side that they don't tell you. Pair bonding is a biological, neurological mechanism that happens in all animals, including humans, to form attachments. It was first derived in 1987 by people called Hassan and Shaver. If you've ever done A-level psychology, the OCR one, you might remember learning about Bowlby and the attachment experiments. It's all linked to this. Bowlby, Ainsworth, I can't remember any others. Let me know if you can remember any. It's not new knowledge. When an individual chooses to engage in transient sex, breaking bond after bond from each new partner that they're with, the brain forms a new synaptic map of one-night stands. And this pattern of attach, break, becomes the new normal for the individual. There's an article that explains this. It's really easy to digest. You basically make it harder for you to permanently bond with someone. The mainstream media, our educational systems, our music, and people in positions of power are convincing women this is female empowerment. This is freedom. Allowing women to have unhindered freedom upon their acts, actually giving women both sides of the story, whilst being informed of all the benefits and the costs of engaging in promiscuity. Female empowerment is meant to be about acceptance and love. Love being, it's something that's going to be good for yourself, so therefore it's going to be good for the people around you, and thus the ripple effect of that means that it's good on the broader society. It's these same feminists that preach about female empowerment as an excuse to indulge in promiscuous behaviour, that also shame the ideal of being a wife. And where's the love there? If you can't already tell, I do not agree with anything that feminism alleges to stand for, but we'll be here for another hour if I jump into that now. If you like this content and you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel. If you want to support this video, please like it, leave a comment, share with someone. If you didn't like it, that's absolutely fine too. I hope you ask yourself, is this topic triggering something for you, and maybe delve into that. If it's not that and you're convinced it's me, please let me know and tell me in the comments. Is this triggering something for you? Any areas you think I can improve on, please leave a comment below on how I can do better, and of course I'll try my best. We're not here for long. There are people out there with big red buttons that could end all of our lives in seconds. We're bound to not agree on everything. Life's too short. Let's try our best to remain harmonious in the adversity of opinion. Sending love to you all.